terms of finding the very underlying issues that cause health problems. People come to physio like, okay, I've got a headache, I've got a low back pain, I've got my hips squeak, my knees squeak and stuff. And that group that comes to me is usually that, like the birds that fly and fly and fly and you can't find a boat where to land because no treatment helps. And I'm not interested in treating people. I'm interested in showing them the option that they can be healed from the problem. And this is hidden within the body. That option, that possibility is hidden within the body. And human body has an enormous power of healing itself. We just have to remove the obstacles. And these obstacles are mainly here. This is how I see it. Behind every book there's a story, and behind this book there is also a story, a very personal story. And as if you don't mind, I'll tell you. I hope my square English wouldn't mind. And if I don't find the perfect word, you will help me to continue. When I was 15, my dad decided to send me to England.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It wasn't my dad.
I was trying to turn it
It
off.
wasn't my dad. I don't know, I'm not sure. Dad can see me from out there. So. Very, very present, and we'll get back to it, because this is also this is a part of that book, because we live in realities that can be seen and not seen, but can be sensed, right? We coexist with people we don't see, and that we used to be parents, friends, and they still are there, and we can tell they are. And being a boy of 15, being a boy from Poland by that time, I had no idea where I was coming. Dad told my mom, okay, you will go to my cousin who lived near Norwich, and as I arrived, I was shocked with what I saw, because in 1987 in Poland we had almost nothing, but just the beauty of the country, and that was the magic of the communism, that we had nothing, but the whole country could work, and everybody could manage their living in some way. And in 1987, I wouldn't ever dreamed of a day that I would be here again promoting my book. I did not know any English. I didn't know anything. I had no idea about who I would be in the future. But then there came next arrivals, and another arrival. And there was a moment when I couldn't have imagined my summer holidays without being here in Norwich and spending that with my family. And as I attended my academy, physiotherapy was closely related to Academy of Physical Education. That was where we were studying. And that was quite okay, because apart from medical, like lineage, we had to also practice some physical activities, and that flipping physical, mental was quite healthy. It was very good. And in 1993, I was about to graduate next year. I arrived here and I met some great people like osteopaths, and they gifted me with books, and the names on the books were hot. That was James Tsiriak's, for example, Alan Stoddart, and that was classic osteopathy. These books were printed in the 50s, for example, so that was, that root manual therapy we were dreaming about. We were in Polish physiotherapy by that time. We were open to anything that could broaden our imagination, how we can help people, and that what was called manual medicine was rushing in and Yes, we were very hungry. After I graduated, I worked in an institute of rheumatology, and for about a year, and I was hit by getting to a point that mechanical treatment doesn't work. We were full of anatomy, we were full of physiology, we were full of everything, but we were not full of empathy, and we didn't know how human body really works because nobody told us. And I started asking questions in my head. I started seeking, and I attended one course, another course, and one of my teachers. There was a great opening for myself by the end of 90s, and he was, I think, the very first or one of the few in Poland who started talking about emotions. That we are emotional creatures, and that we are governed by emotions, that our bodies get sculptured by emotions, that what we love, but what we're afraid of, that what we admire and what we fear is that eternal game in us, and that game creates us, each of and every single one of us. And what we see is the effect of that game. As you take an anatomy book, you see just one skeleton and just one liver, one heart, and when you look around, you see so many different people. And it's not only because of because of the genetics or genes they have inside. It's also because of how they were brought up by the circumstances of emotional environment they were growing in. And as I think of human body, as I see human body, it's an enormous portion. It's a huge amount of data that we collect from outside world, and the data is permanently working within us, and that internal dialogue is in total silence. It's happening in total silence. That's why when we are in silence, we can hear a lot from what is inside. And that's why many people don't like silence, because they may hear questions that come out, and they don't want these questions because these questions are difficult. These questions deal with who you are. These questions deal with what life you live. These questions deal with what are your real problems that underline the symptom that you're bringing to a therapist.
Hello.
And symptoms are a yell, a scream from the body. You're mistreating me. Symptoms are like, as I say, information. Do something else, because the way you're walking is, it's a one way. And there is an edge, rather so that as you fall, you will never be able to rise up again. How we respond to our emotions is, we can divide emotions into two parts mainly: those that help us to fly, and those who keep us low and keep us on the ground, and sometimes immobile our bodies, stop us from moving. The human body has an enormous knowledge that is connected to the knowledge that surrounds us. It's called nature. Some people call it God. Some people call it whatever name they use. But that knowledge means feeling. I feel that this is okay for me, but I feel this is not okay. And if we listen to that feeling voice, if we listen to that, we will appreciate its help. We will appreciate. Why? Because our body is our greatest friend who will always stand behind us and who will always be with us. We have one body, we have several bodies so far, because I have had a body of a newborn, and it transferred into the body of a boy, then a teenager, and now I have a body of 52 years, and I hope it will still be changing. But what is inside that body is that invisible spark, and that invisible spark is that part of that global everything. We can't see that invisible thing in us, because when we die and they open us, and where is he? We can't find him. He doesn't exist there. So where is he? Well, he's been here a couple of moments ago, but he just moved. And the body is a gift. The body is a gift from the earth. The body is a gift from our life. The body is a gift from why we came here. And that's why when we die, we give the body away again to the earth, or well, we'll burn it. That's what we do with it. I'll tell you about my professional life. I'll tell you about my job, because this book is full of stories that I have decided to write down to show people that they can be healed, that they can be well, that they came here for living their life in prosperity, in joy and happiness, not only in pain. We are not here for suffering. This is obvious. We are not here for suffering. The fact that we suffer is a part of our life, but this is not the purpose. This is different. If we realize the difference, this will liberate us from hard thinking, from thinking like I'm a victim of something, I'm a victim of pain because pain is my enemy. That's why I need painkillers. No, you don't need painkillers. You need something to remove the reason of pain from your life. When I consult a patient, when somebody comes with any problem, before I get to treatment session, like putting hands on that person, or trying to like smell what's inside, because sometimes I behave like a dog walking around the patient and say, what are you going to tell me? I ask questions, and the questions are sometimes very strict and very pure. What is your main problem that you strive against? What is the problem that you would like to remove from your life? There comes a deep breath, there comes gasp, and sometimes there come tears, and sometimes there comes a story that has never been told, and sometimes there come secrets that people have never revealed to the public because they were ashamed of it. And we have things like rape, we have things like lack of love from the dear ones. We have physical, misuse, like accidents, like things like that. But what really hurts is that ice cube that is inside, and that started some time ago, and that ice cube needs warming up. And when you imagine having an ice cube in your hand, it will melt, but it needs warmth from your hand. If you remove that, if you just leave it, it will not melt anymore, because it will still be ice. It needs temperature, or it needs something that will open the environment in which it is being stored. And mainly we have containers where we store them, these ice cubes, and these containers are tissues. Tissues hold something with tension. And this is the story about building up tension for years. to see what's in my hand, I need to open my hand. And then I need to release the grip. So I don't hold to something anymore. I just let go. Letting go is the most difficult mental figure that people face many times, because they are very close with the problem and they can't imagine how their life would look like when they let go. It's like, well, I love the image of a motorboat on a lake. Yes, on a lake. When you are in a motorboat and when you look back, you see Kate. You see Kate? Wake. So wake. You see wake on water. And it's just the proof that you were there, right? But what gives you power is that engine inside the boat. So it's the engine inside my body that gives me power to move on. Unless I have an anchor and it's there and it keeps my boat immobile and I cannot move on. When I use my engine, I waste my petrol, my fuel. I don't move anywhere. I'm stuck there. I need to get a knife and cut the rope. And this is what is sometimes, I say, beyond any imagination of anybody. And how can I forgive somebody? How can I forget something? How can I stop paying attention to this that I was taught by my mom and dad? Or this is the rule of life that I need to pay attention to. And the more rigid we become, the more stiff we become, the less elastic we become. Elasticity is a form of life. You see, whatever is hard is easy to be broken. Whatever is soft, it will leave. As we watch, for example, spring grass, as we ride a bike over it, within a day or two, it will be up again and there will be no track of the bike anymore. But when we ride a tank, for example, across the forest and we break trees which are stiffer, we will see that and that will remain forever. In one of the most beautiful books that I've ever had in my hands, Tao Te Ching by Lao Tse, Chinese book of wisdom, there is a verse: whatever is soft will live, whatever is hard will die. We are hard when we die. We're soft when we live, and this is the key to maintain that softness. And that softness within our tissues, it reflects the softness in our mind, in our, I wouldn't say brain, because brain is a physical structure, but in our mind, which means in our beliefs. What is a belief? A belief is a thought, right, that you repeat many, many times in your life, and then you start believing this is real. I remember a quote, some sage was asked, what is real? And he responded, whatever doesn't change is real. What doesn't change? Everything changes. So the reality is slippery. My beliefs are also just they just reflect somebody's teaching, they reflect somebody's opinions, they reflect my conclusions, they reflect something that I have learned, and I believe in them, and my body reflects my beliefs in its softness or in its hardness, in its light or in its heavy feeling. Whatever is light goes up. That's natural. You have a feather, it goes up because the wind can carry it. When something is heavy, like a tank, like stones, they remain down, and it's very difficult to make them jump. And we have emotions, we have feelings that lift us up, and this is one of the feelings. I'm very happy that you're here. Happiness is one of those feelings, and I believe I could fly now, if only I had wings. But there are feelings that bring us down, and the lower they take us, the more immobile we become. On the very bottom, there is depression, right? But going up, step by step, we are going up, we're going higher. These steps that take us from the basement, which is dark and sometimes very welded, and the lead needs to be removed. But as we remove the lead, there's light, and in light we see things easy, right? When we switch on the light in a room, you know what's going on. When you switch on the light within the body says, okay. The light can be understood for the body in two ways. The light is the condition of sun, right, rays, and just light rays, and light as I have removed the heaviness from me. Carrying heaviness, carrying beliefs that put me down, carrying beliefs or emotions towards somebody, carrying hatred, carrying things like that on me, in me, that will sooner or later put me down, and I'll be in trouble. I'll be immobile. If that continues, a disease will come. A disease is a continuity of that thoughts that I believed in, or I accepted as my own one. That book starts with a very interesting story of a friend of mine. His name is Paul. He is a British gentleman. He worked in Warsaw for like 20 years, and we've known each other for these 20 years. Whatever I have learned, I've tested on him. And maybe because of that, he managed to survive these 20 years, I don't know. His wife's name is Linda. That's not that Paul that you're thinking about. That Paul lives in England still. He plays music, right? With his left hand. And Paul, finally, he decided to sell his shares in his company and return to England, but he was coming to Warsaw for some times. And during one visit, he called me and said, okay, can we meet? Because there is something that is, causing I don't feel well. I said, okay. As he arrived, as he found himself on the table, because that's the easiest thing that you do in physios, right? You put yourself on the table and say, okay, manage the whole thing. But he knew that something would come, because he said, I got a jaw problem, the temporal mandibular joint. It squeaks, I have a toothache, and they're thinking of removing my tooth. When we think about jaw, when we think about clenching teeth, we think usually about anger. We think about, I'll show you something. Right? I clench no matter what, I will not say that, but if I have an option, I will bite you to death. It's like an animal instinct. And as he was on the table, suddenly, out of the blue, he started talking about, this is the magic of touch, I'll tell you about it. He started talking about his mother and his brothers, his 3 brothers, and with 2 of them, he was not in touch for 10 years because he blamed them for not appearing in the hospital when the mum was dying. And he said, I infected my children with that anger, with that hatred I started feeling towards my brothers. And he said, what would you do? And I said, no, I asked him, how, why? the brothers, what happened? And said, my mum was worth far more than this. And he started crying. Now, excuse all English gentlemen, but 60-something years old English gentleman crying on a table, it's a big thing. And he said, what would you do? I said, well, I would call your brothers and I would talk to them. Like, it makes no sense anymore. We all suffer from it. And he said, oh, I knew you would say that. And several months later, he called from some noisy place and he said, do you know where I am? I said, yeah, in a supermarket? No, we are on a football match with Chris. And Chris was one of these two brothers. And he said, we finally got in touch and we finally reunited and we're so happy. And all my symptoms are gone. I don't have any symptoms and I'm free from that. The whole family reunited and we're so amazingly happy that we're back together. And as he decided to remove his belief that his mother was worth something more, that was connected to that event, that sad event for them, he managed himself, or he did allow himself to heal the problem. To heal the problem, not to engage treatment, to heal the problem. That was an immediate decision. And okay, I stop now, because that makes no sense anymore. I'm going the wrong way. I sometimes use that, picture, that image of a passenger sitting in a train and, for example, traveling from, let's say, from Norwich to Cromer, right? But I find myself in the train to London. Oh goodness, where am I? If I continue, I will lose my time, I will lose my money. I need to change trains. I need to get back to Norwich and head the other direction. The sooner, the quicker I do it, the fun, okay, my savings will pay for that. So the longer we stay in a certain condition, the body will suffer more and more and more. And this decision is because it deals with something that for that person, for a certain person, is something that is very, very difficult. Like, for example, a few months ago, I consulted a woman who, as a 4-year-old girl, was raped. And she said, I have been on a therapy for 5 years and it doesn't work. It's just scratching my wounds and nothing else. I don't feel any improvement. I don't feel any improvement because if you don't allow your wounds to get healed, they will infect your body. They will endanger you. They will kill you. Many people with emotional wounds kill themselves because they infect their spirit, they infect their souls with that. And they cannot cope with that, and they hang themselves, they shoot themselves, they do different things. And after the first session of hands-on treatment, after discussing with her tissues, she sent me a message next day and she said, I'm resigning from that treatment, unquote, because after the session yesterday I have felt so dramatic improvement in how I feel. Feeling is the answer. Feeling is the language of body. Feeling, I feel that something is good for me. I feel I'm hungry. I feel I'm in love. I feel. This is the crucial word. If you know something, that's fine. But if you feel, there is no lie about it, right? We know that feeling is also the voice of something we call intuition. I know, I feel, I should go there. And intuition tells me, don't go there. And if I don't listen to my intuition, for example, I may break my leg, because my body will say, no, You're not going there. I can scratch my car before I leave. I can, something's playing against me. No, something is playing for you. Something is right behind you, telling this is not the way. Don't go there. Go the other way. And if we learn, if we teach our children to listen to that voice, to feeling, they will be happy. They will avoid problems. They will avoid so many situations that will cause them suffer. Because feeling is the connection with balance. Feeling is the language of balance. Feeling is the language of calmness inside. If I put some water in the glass and take a look at it, I may see my face. If I start moving the glass, I will not see my face. I will not see anything. Just storm. The storm needs to calm down. And then, okay, I see it again. That storm deals with our internal water. And I'll tell you as well about internal water, how I see, how I understand that water, that language, that water talks to us. If I want to say, or if I'm to say how I understand touching, how I understand touch as a tool, I will need to say we are all connected. This is not strange. In a place like this, this is not nothing new, and it may be obvious. But how do we know we connected? If we believe, right, or if we understand that our physical self comes from the nature, and if we look around, the nature is interested in natural life, with peaceful life. Right? Birds just fly, eat, have chicks die. No war, nothing, no confusion, nothing that steals up their life. There are other birds who have their lives. These lives interfere. We have animals, we have water, trees, stuff like this. If we leave them in peace, it will just live on. And it's just us humans who cause problems. And the worst thing is that we cause problems in our lives, in ourselves, for our bodies, and then we create diseases, we create problems, dysfunctions. And we believe these functions are punishment, and we believe that these functions are because of our age. We believe that these functions come from some creature that gave me that and made me suffer. Nothing worse in thinking. As we imagine ourselves being a part of that beautiful something, and the beautiful something got something out of it, put on that beautiful earth and said, okay, now go and do your life, do your living, and please take my message around and we'll see what you can do for me. We are all from the same source. We are born from the same source. We are born from the same beauty. We are born from the same wisdom. Now, there is a lot of talking about consciousness, about awakenings, about people seeing more and more and more and understanding more, and that's wonderful, because the more we understand, the more we see, the more we feel, the better. But if we believe in that unity, in that oneness of the whole human population, it shows that we can sense and feel each other. You have probably been in situations like, I've just thought about my dad and he's just cold, right? This is connection. I have thought of something and that something has just appeared, and this is connection. This is the power of thought. This is communication between our minds, between data that flows around. That's why I whole human body, the data, right? This is just an enormous amount of data. This is a container of data. I'll give you some examples from my life, from my personal life, and then we'll get back to that, treatment examples, because they're breathtaking sometimes. 3 years ago, my nephew was suffering from kidney problems, and these kidney problems were related to her fear. She was absolutely madly afraid of separating from her husband. They had a horrible marriage, and she wanted to divorce from him, but she was so afraid that she has decided to ruin her life, to abandon her life. And as she started having these kidney problems, she generated circulation problems in legs, swollen legs, and things were getting worse and worse and worse. And one Sunday in December, I was sitting with my son. He was having a bath, and I received the information that she would die the coming Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And I said to my son, Julian, do you know, I've just received that from there. And he looked at me like, well, are you surprised? Oh, it's there. So you're surprised that you have just managed to receive it? And she died on Tuesday at 3:20. So it's just a very slight difference of time. But we all know these situations.
Sorry to disturb you.
And we all know these situations. We all know that we hear about something within us, that somewhere in silence we receive some information, and that information gets confirmed sooner or later. I've had many situations like that. I have a friend in Mexico. Mexico is quite away from Poland. It's even away from England. And in the middle of the night, I get awake and I write a message. How is your father? He died yesterday. Basically, reply. A friend, another story. A friend lives nearby, and she had a son, and Andy was he had some internal organ problems. I can't remember what it was exactly, but there was a break in our correspondence, in our contact, and yes, that was Monday. I remember like today. I wrote a message to her. How is Auntie? And she said, well, we have a funeral tomorrow. And with these messages, you just scratch your head and say, oh my goodness, what am I reading? What is arriving, right? And this was one of the messages, was transmitted to me by my mom. This is very personal, so if my voice breaks, just forgive me. When my mom passed away, well, that was a quick story.
Sorry, I just...
It's okay. So what did I
Thank you.
How would you call it? Sweater?
It's a long cardigan.
Long cardigan. Long cardigan. When my mom and dad were living together, they created, I wouldn't say a perfect couple because such doesn't exist, but she loved looking in his eyes, and his eyes were confirming how in love he was with her and what she was doing with her life. She was very active. She was a Polish teacher, and she was full of concepts, of ideas. She was everywhere. He was a teacher as well. On the other end of the scale, he was a maths teacher. And as he died, she lost her mirror. And being lost without a mirror, she decided to lay herself down in bed and stay there for 3 years. And her life that was massively active it was shrinking, and finally it all was happening in one room, in a city. And she was mentally okay, she was mentally conscious to the end. And one day she just died. The battery went down. And a few days after her funeral, I had a dream. And in dreams, we receive a lot of information, a lot of wonderful data, a lot of connection. And sometimes dreams make me think on which side of a dream we dream. This is surprising. We may be dreaming about this meeting now, sleeping somewhere on the other side of the mirror. And in that dream, I was in the kitchen, night kitchen, and the kitchen was white. It was beautifully white. And she was standing there, young and beautiful, with her eyes sparkling, and in her purple shirt that she loved very much. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, looking at me, and she said, "I was tired with that bed. I decided to stand up again, but my body was too weak. So I did it that way." And she said, "It is just a matter of wanting something very badly." And she turned away and said, "Cardigan. Cardigan, thank you for teaching me." And that was the first info, like, everything is fine. We are there, and I'm happy. I decided to change. I decided to change my life. I decided to move into another shape, and I decided to do something else. Because how long can you live and look at your ceiling? That was, of course, I wouldn't say encouraging, but it was very nice of her to come and share that knowledge. After that, I've had many conversations with them. That's why at the beginning I was laughing. They are there, and most people are surrounded by their relatives, and they just don't realize that. When we discover, or I can speak for myself, of course, when we discover that feeling, that level of feeling or sensitivity that allows you to feel what's happening in the body of your patient, you may receive that data, you may read that data and help to put it on the table and say, "You see, this is related to your problem, what do you think?" And sometimes people say, "This is ridiculous. How is it related to me? We've just discovered something that is 500 years old, or 1,000 years old, or 20 years old, and it's not mine, or I don't remember, I can't remember that." This is the water. This is water. The water, or their water, I don't know. It is not a liquid. It is a personality that surrounds and constructs living life of everything. As you reach out for ancient books, in every book, everything starts with water. Everything starts with water. The earth was filled with water, clouds hovering above, and there was chaos. And then they started reorganizing things, and now we have seas, we have mountains, we have lands, stuff like this. Do we believe it or not? It's another thing. But let's take a look at water. There is just one water on the globe. The amount of water is, well, we can measure it, right? We can say there are 500 millions of hectolian gallons, whatever that is, right? And we all drink the same water. We all drink the same water. Then that water comes out from our bodies and gets in the body of somebody else, and in somebody else, and in somebody else. And when we think of that, we may start thinking, okay, am I drinking the same water as William Shakespeare? Yes. How about that? Oh my goodness. So that's why I write poems? Is that because, I don't know, maybe. But am I drinking the same water as people in concentration camps? Yes. So that's why I may feel fear that I don't understand. Yes, that's possible. And what is in the tissues is held and cradled by water. This is the sheet of paper on which the note is written down. And when you take a piece of paper, do we have something? Yeah. Does anybody have something to write? Okay. What is your name?
Sarah Jane.
Sarah. Sarah. I put 4 letters on it. Sarah. This can be the condition of Sarah's tissue. To see what's inside, to see who is inside, we need to unfold these tissues. We need to unfold its. This is okay. Sarah. Okay. So this is what is inside. Contraction, tension, improper tissue functioning is this. We don't know what's inside. It's like the bottle of perfumes. If we want to feel what's inside, we need to open it. Then we can feel it, we can smell it. If you want to see, if you want to feel what is in the tissue, you need to open the tissue, you need to relax the tissue. That's why people, during different forms of treatment, release the emotions, release the tears, they release the pains, they release their stories because they cannot hold that story anymore. And touch is like a magnet. We were all kids, and most of us remember that game that we used to play with 2 magnets, one from below the table, under the table, and the other was on the table. We were playing, and that was magic because we couldn't see the force that was moving it, and it was magnetism. So it was the natural force that is moving the earth, that is moving us, that is constructing our tissues. And if the tissue is in proper form, that magnetism can work properly. If it's not, well, it's let's say it's confused. We need to bring it back to normal. So it's like ironing a shirt. We use magnets, and what's between them gets penetrated by the magnetic field. This is the magnet. The body that is on the table is another magnet. It's a huge magnet, and as we put hands on it, it will start corresponding. It will start cooperating. It will start moving our hand. It will start inviting the hand. It will start unfolding the problem. It will start using its natural powers to adapt to that possibility of releasing the problem. The body will do it immediately. It just cannot do it itself. It just needs sometimes a helping hand. But it sometimes needs other form of stimulation. Sometimes words come as help. You know that when you speak to someone or when you talk to someone about something that is inside this, they will respond to it. They will defend it, or that will soften them, and they will start crying. Crying, tears are water. Tears are water. Tears are cleaning water. This is like opening a water tap. We're cleaning the body. We're cleaning the wastes. We're removing the waste. We're removing that what the body doesn't need. The thing is, And it's always there, that question. Are we crying with that very something that needs to be cried out? Or are we just bending, using our muscles and bending our face and, and crying with no purpose? Because a cry can be also a play. It doesn't have to be that cry related to release. It can be a cry because I want to cry. If you get to the very spot that the body holds the problem, the cry is different, because the cry starts, it looks like a baby's cry. You know how babies cry. They cry with the whole body. It's very hard to stop the baby from crying because it engages the whole body. How do adults cry? That's it, right? It's finished. And as you drive a patient, if you allow the patient, if you support the patient, and if you create a circumstance that gives your patient a secure place to cry the problem out, the problem will go. The problem will come out. And it's like a rabbit from the magic hat. See, this is it. Okay, we've got it by its ears. Now, what do you think? Yes, this is it. This is it. This is, I miss my father. A few weeks ago, I had a great session with a lady who was, I think she was about in her 30s. And she had a stepfather, and her real natural father was somewhere there. He was an alcoholic. And she wasn't in touch with him, and she was on the level of her understanding of her mindset. She was okay with that situation, but her body wasn't. And it was, we started working with the chest. I'll tell you about chest in a moment, because chest is a great place in the human body. She started crying and she said, I miss my father. Whatever he is, I mean, however he is, however he behaves, whatever he does in his life or with his life, no matter if he drinks or he doesn't drink, he's my father. I miss him. And a few days later, she wrote me a message and said, we'll be meeting very soon. I found a contact. I know where he lives. I know where he, yes. So that gives me hope that these kind of sessions, these kind of meetings sometimes go for well, for better. And its changes can be breathtaking sometimes. Talking about chest is a cage. We can see its construction, we can see the ribs, we can see the sternum, the chest bone, and we can see the content. And the content is the most surprising. I mean, we say, okay, it's the ribs are there to protect heart, lungs, and all those pipes and stuff, because they are life-supporting organs. Yes, that's true. But these life-supporting organs can also suffer and create stiffness from the chest, from the muscles, from the ligaments, from the bones, because bones can stiffen as well. As they are misused by muscles, as they are misoperated, they can stiffer, not to get broken. If you pull something very strongly, very hard, that something will give away or maintain your grip. If I give you my hand, hold me tight, as strong as you can. See, we'll hold like this until one of us will get tired. But if we say, this is my gun, if you let me go, I'll kill you, you will never let go. You see, that will be an agony of pain. That will be an agonizing situation. But if we live in that situation for 20 years, because we believe that if I let go, my life will end, or my life will, something wrong will happen, I will be holding that something no matter what. I need to understand that this threat is just my imagination, that this is a fake, right? It doesn't exist. It is my interpretation of them. And within the chest, and this is my favorite part, within the chest we have two lungs that are to exchange gases, okay? Because they are basically to exchange oxygen and the other one, CO2, right? What do you call it?
Carbon dioxide.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we have heart. And these are three organs that work in an incredible synchrony, because heart has its own rhythm and lungs have their own rhythm, right? Two different rhythms. Living in one rhythm, in cage, they need to cooperate. They need to live on for the whole life. And they don't quarrel, they don't complain about that, they don't fight with each other, and being situated on a respiratory diaphragm, the heart is still being like in a cradle of breathing. So they influence one another. What is heart for? Do you know what heart is for in human life? Stupid question. No, it's for loving. It's for loving. As you go to the park and when you take a look at the bench, you will see a heart being cut off with a knife and Christie, for example, something. It's not a kidney, it's not the liver, it's heart. So heart is for loving, and this is the organ that is related to that very simple emotion. If you go to Latin, cor, right? C-O-R, this is heart. And if you go to English, if you add E at the end, you have core as something that is the middle of something. Is heart a core of life? Looks like. Because without heart, there is no life. If we remove somebody's heart, that person is dead. But if you freeze your heart, your life is dead. Your humanity is dead.